Hey guys, in this video I'm going to show you how to use vinyl to add some accents to your bathroom in case you wanted to kind of just change up the way your bathroom looks without doing any major modifications or significant cost investment. So basically I'm going to show you, for example, using vinyl to put some accents on this glass shower door handle to make it start from something like this to something like this, where there's a wrapped handle to add a little bit of accent and color to your bathroom. Alright guys, so to get started, a couple things as far as tools and preparation that we'll need. First thing, you'll want a very sharp utility knife. This is just a Vivid utility knife holder. The blades are 30-degree NT cutter blades. Make sure that your blades are new and super sharp, because that's going to be important as far as when you get the cutting and trimming. I'm using a micro squeegee to kind of help me with defining some lines here where seams are for cutting and trimming. Some sort of a heat source to help lay the vinyl down. In this case, because I'm using automotive vinyl, not craft vinyl like Oracal 651. Today I'll be using a heat torch. I'm comfortable using a heat torch because I use it every day for work. I am a automotive vinyl wrap installer, so that is one of our heat sources that I use all the time. You can use a heat gun if you're not comfortable using a torch or don't have one. If you don't have a heat gun, a hair dryer would work just as well. And then of course, last thing you want to use is vinyl. Here's my piece of vinyl. As you can see, I've already pre-cut it, just slightly wider than the handlebar itself. It goes into the handlebar mounts, which I'm not going to be wrapping today. You can also see that I've made it significantly bigger or taller than I need to. I could probably cut this in half and it'll be fine, because all I'm going to do is the main surface, the top and the bottom. I'm not going to wrap the back because no one ever sees the back. You can if you want, and so if you do elect to do that, you'll definitely want to have something that has enough vinyl to wrap all the way around. Now, I'm recommending for this particular project to use automotive wrapping cast vinyl. Today I'm going to be using, it's Oracal. This is their 970 series wrapping cast automotive vinyl. The color is aubergine bronze, and it's aubergine which is an eggplant, hence the purple. But I don't know if you can see it. It's a color shifting vinyl for this particular case, where depending on the light that hits it, it turns into a bronze color. Now, I do have a separate video that I'll put in the description down below as to why I recommend using automotive wrap cast vinyl for this. And but as a quick summary for that, reason being is automotive vinyl is extremely durable. As you can imagine, we put it on the cars and vehicles, which are out in the elements all the time, so it's exposed to heat, sun, moisture, rain, rocks, things like that, and it's very durable. In a bathroom, it tends to be a high humidity type of environment because people are showering, etc., etc. The other thing that I like about wrapping cast in particular is that it has, at least the modern ones, have an air egress feature to it, where basically if you get a bubble stuck in here, you can just press it out and it goes away, unlike your calendar non-air egress vinyl like Oracal 651. Also, automotive vinyl is designed to be easily removable. It is not a quote-unquote permanent vinyl. As long as you remove it within the manufacturer's recommended time period, it pulls up with little to no residue, with little or no effort. You might just need a little bit of heat to help you out with that. So anyway, enough of the preparation piece to it. Actually, I take that back. One last thing for preparation. The surface that you're going to be wrapping, basically you'll want to make sure is thoroughly cleaned. Make sure there's no oils or residues on there. So I typically would just take your straight up 70% isopropyl alcohol, i.e. rubbing alcohol, clean the surface down. I've already done that on this particular surface. Alright, so let's get started. What I'm going to go ahead and do is take the vinyl off the backing sheet and place it. I'm just going to basically center it left, right, and up, down on this bar here. Again, I made it slightly wider than the total bar itself, and all I'm doing is putting it on. Now, the vinyl is a little bit brittle, if you will, because it's kind of cold down here. I'm down in my basement, and the ambient temperature is probably only about 65, maybe 64 degrees Fahrenheit. And ideally you'll want to be at least 70 degrees, if not slightly warmer. Now, all I did there was place it on, lay it smooth with my hand, try to get out any air bubbles to do that. Alright, and you can see how the vinyl is nice and is actually kind of stiff right now. So I'm going to take this heat, this torch, or your heat source, give it a little bit of heat, and you see how the vinyl got really soft and floppy there, how it just kind of fell down on the top side there. So now the vinyl's nice and soft, it makes it actually more sticky. So what I'm doing is taking this, and I'm going to give it a little bit of a pull, you can see that here, to help define this line across the top. Give it a little bit of pull, and I'm using the width of my thumb here and the fat part of my hand there to kind of, that way it's not a point pull, it's more of a broad pull. And I'm pulling it over the edge and across the top, over the edge, and what I'm doing is defining this line here. Okay, because I want a nice good sharp line to ensure that there's no air bubbles trapped in there at all. Alright, I'm going to give it a little bit more heat because it's cool enough that this has become kind of stiff again. Give it a little bit more heat. Kind of hold it up a little bit. And I'm pulling it now, I'm pulling it over and slightly down across the top, because what I want to do is make sure that the top is laid down nicely, and I'm creating that line again on the back side right here. The reason I'm doing that is because I'm setting this up for cutting. Okay, I got a little air bubble there, so I'm just pushing it out. Make sure that this is set up all the way to the edge, and this is where it meets the handle and goes, and the handlebar goes into the mount here. Alright, so that is nice and set up. Okay, hit it with heat to make sure there's no trapped air bubbles there. Okay, make sure that line back there is nice and set up. Again, like a lot of things, preparation is key to having a good result. Alright, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and trim out the top, since we're basically done laying the top side over. Now there's a, you can't really see it here, maybe let me take the camera off the mount here. On the top here, you'll see that there's a little seam right there, and then here's where the handle meets right there, and there's a little seam right inside there. Same thing on this side as well. You can kind of see where the handle mount meets the handlebar, and there's a seam there as well. What I'm going to do is I'm going to define this line here. I'm going to define this line right here, excuse me, and there, and then I'm going to use that to start cutting across the back side here. Okay, we get mounted back up. Alright. Alright, going to give it a little bit of heat because the vinyl has cooled down and it's stiffened up again. So I'm just going to make sure that I define that line really nicely, make sure my line across the back is defined nicely. Boom. Alright, I'm going to start by cutting that seam there, and I'm just going to carefully cut over the top here, cut here, and what I'm doing is I'm starting my cut tab here. Now what I'm going to do is take my knife, since I got it started, tips in the seam, inside that seam. I'm going to use this side of the blade against the back side of this line here as my guide. This tab that I started, I'm going to give it just a little bit of tension to help keep a nice, clean, smooth cut. When I'm cutting, I'm going to cut basically flush against the side, but I'm going to hold my knife at an angle, not straight up. Hold my knife at an angle, not straight up, because this blade, you want it slicing across the vinyl versus kind of pushing and trying to cut, which could cause a jagged type of cut. Alright, so you can see that. I'm trying to hold that angle. Get this started here. Okay. All I'm doing is taking my time to find that line starting. And alright. There we go. And slide the side of that blade, giving the vinyl a little bit of tension. sliding that blade across using the backside as my guide. Oops. Looks like it flopped down on me. So start this here. That's why it was giving me a hard time. Okay. So make sure I got a good tension here. Form that line. Slide the blade across the length of this using that handlebar and the side of the blade as my guide, and cut that off. Alright, so that's the top side done there. Alright, now we're going to do the same thing to the bottom. You can see how when I gave it some heat, the vinyl became very loose and floppy. And so what I'm going to do now is define that bottom line just with my finger. Okay. And then I'm going to do the same thing like I did across the top. Okay, so I just kind of bring it under. Basically wrapping the bottom side now. Okay, I'm going to go over it again with my finger to make sure there's no trapped air bubbles. Alright. Alright, so same process like on the top. So take my knife, find a good starting point here. So what I'm going to do is find the backside edge, backside of my knife there, or side of my knife, kind of start it, and get all that started there. And basically slide that across, again using the handlebar as your guide. You saw how the knife just slid right through that like butter because it's a super sharp blade. And all I'm doing now is taking my finger to make sure I got everything, no edges I can pick up. Boom. Alright guys, almost done. Now, top and bottom are wrapped, the face is wrapped. You gotta just trim out the edges here. So what I'm going to do is pick this up a little bit here, because I see a wrinkle in my seam. Kiss it with heat. Get my micro squeegee to define my lines here, where the seams are. And define the line so I can get it ready for cutting. Do the same thing on this side here. I'm going to kiss it with heat. And then just basically define the line to get it ready for cutting. Again, I hit it with heat just to soften up the vinyl and make it a little bit more malleable and conformable. Form a nice sharp line there. Let me zoom it in here for you. Let's see if it'll focus on that. Okay, so you can kind of see how I created a seam line there. Alright. Actually, I'll keep it zoomed in a little bit to demonstrate the cut. And so basically I'm just going to take my knife and put the tip into the seam and start cutting. Just basically using the seam as my guide. Okay. Underside, kind of just come at it from the underside here. Be careful not to use too much pressure, because you don't want your blade to jump out of the seam and cut your work there or cut you. And then when you get ready to, when you've done it all, and this is why it's very important to have a really sharp knife to basically just slide right through the vinyl, or slice right through the vinyl, and make a nice clean cut there. Okay, one thing is make sure I got a good clean cut. When you pull up the vinyl, make sure you pull out slowly, because if you didn't cut all the way, you'll pull up part of your work there. There we go. That side is done. I'm going to kiss it with a little bit of heat. And make sure everything's tucked in and formed nicely there. No jagged edges. We go to the other side here. Let me zoom out so you can see. There's the other side. Right there. Zoom in for you here. Okay. So basically same process. I'm just going to hit it again with heat. Make sure my seam line is good to make it easier for cutting this out. Just using my micro squeegee. If you don't have one of these, your fingernail works just as well. If you have fingernails, I'm a dude, so my fingernails are pretty short and not very useful for this kind of application. Okay, got a good line defined there. Take my knife, and basically use the seam as my guide. Take your time, don't rush, make sure you have a nice good clean cut so that it looks nice. Coming at it from the bottom seam now, alright. And then I'm just going to peel this up. Boom. Hit it with a little bit of heat to make sure everything is laid down and tucked in nicely and conformed nicely. Get my micro squeegee, make sure these edges are tucked down and in. They're not hanging out. Give it a nice clean look. Go back on this side here. Touch it with heat. Alright, so we are basically done. I'm just going to feel around for any edges that may have not cut nicely here. I don't want to leave any edges that could be I call them pick edges, where they can grab on stuff and start peeling the vinyl up. So basically I'm just going over the edge with my knife here, shave off the little hairs of vinyl if there's an edge there, which I left a little bit. So same thing here. Got a little bit of hair of vinyl right here. You can see that right there. And so let me zoom back out. Alright guys, so we're basically done with this project here. I'm going to just hit it with heat all over to make sure there's no bubbles. Alright, smooth it down, just make sure everything's nice and sealed. Seal the deal, as we like to say in the automotive vinyl industry. Okay. Now one thing to note, that if there are any imperfections in your handlebar or whatever surface you're applying, it'll show through the vinyl, because the vinyl lays down like paint. Alright, give one more hit of heat to seal everything up here. And there we go. So a quick and easy way to add a little bit of accent to your bathroom. Now you could probably do this if you're ambitious enough to maybe do like the whole door frame if you wanted, maybe the whole shower frame. This may be a little difficult because of the silicone seal on the edge here. Vinyl will not stick to the silicone. So maybe if you wanted the door frames to be a different color and add a little bit of accent. But quick and easy way to add a little bit of accent to your bathroom. So hopefully you found this video to be informative and helpful, maybe show you or give you an idea on using vinyl in a way that you might not have thought of to use. If you liked the video, please give it a thumbs up and hit that subscribe button. Alright guys, thanks, hope you have a great day.